Chris Jones is out. Jarius Jackson is in. 0-5 was enough for the Edmonton Elks to make changes to try to turn the season around and get to winning football. The teams head to the nation's capital for a rematch of last weekend as they look to snag their first W of the season. The Edmonton Elks, they start their climb back towards a playoff spot. Edmonton Elks, Ottawa Redblacks. It's Friday Night Football, but first, this is the Green and Gold Kickoff Show. Matthew Iwanyk, Jay Milne with you here live at Centric Casino Sports Bar and Lounge just off of Fort Road, as we're going to get you set over the next hour for the tilt between the Edmonton Elks and the Ottawa Redblacks. You can watch that game on TSN. Our boy Dustin Nielsen not on the call. As they're out east, he's got the Winnipeg Riders game, as it is a doubleheader in the Canadian Football League today. For the first time this season, we get the doubleheader. Let's get looking at the starting lineup for the Edmonton Elks. And McLeod Bethel Thompson, once again, the starting quarterback for the team. The men protecting him from left to right, Ivy Foucault, Cordy Stewart, and Boyko. The receiving core, Lewis Gittins Jr., Mitchell, Mayala, and Smith. In the backfield, it is Brown and Green. Defensive line, defensively, McKnight, Curtis, Oakman, and Brown. The linebacking core, Morgan in between Anderson and Moncrief. And the secondary, Gray, Bratton, Purifoy, Jackson, and Lewis. Beatty is the kicker and the punter. Julian will punt, and Javon Leake will handle the kick return duties. Jay, do we have injury report for today?
Yeah, there's not much going on. I mean, as you said, Foucault is in, starting at O-line. He was... Oh, Renee finally showed up.
Oh, she is here. Look at that. I was going to message you saying, oh, I guess another game without Renee.
He was just trashing you. Oh, my gosh. He did not practice earlier in the week, then was limited, and then he got upgraded to available. He is starting at left guard. Robert Candice is still out with that knee injury, but other than that, the lineup has stayed the same.
Did she give me the middle finger too, by the way?
No, I think she was quite elated to see.
I would have. Well, I've been ripping on her for not showing up here,
She's,
so that's why.
That's right.
I thought maybe I saw a middle finger or something. Which I would
wouldn't
understand.
Surprise me.
No,
Matt.
well, I would actually fully deserve that one if that was the case. Let's take a look at some of the key players for the Ottawa Redblacks. Drew Brown with a major game last week against the Edmonton Elks, and 3 receivers, each with over 100 yards last week. They also each had a 66 or greater catch in that game. Usually a defense might only give up 1 big play in that game. They give up 3 to 3 different receivers, those receivers being Hardy, Pimpleton, and Rhymes Pimpleton. It was his first career game in the Canadian Football League, and he put up over 150 yards, had his 70-plus yard touchdown, and just lit up the Edmonton Elks defense.
Critical catch at the end of the game, too.
Raquel Armstead is their running back, who the Edmonton Elks, credit to them defensively, did a really good job of containing last week. He came into that game actually with a really good pace rushing-wise, but for the Elks defense, that there was a positive from last week.
One of the very few, I might add.
Don't have much else to say on that one right there. Weather report out in Ottawa, looking at Environment Canada, 23 degrees and sunny. It's going to feel like 26 for the team tonight when they take to the field in Ottawa. By game end, 20 degrees and clear. So it's going to be a beautiful night out there out in Ottawa at TD Place Stadium, I think it's called. I pride myself usually on being a shill for the corporations and getting those names right, and I think I got that. TD Place Stadium, there it is.
Nobody shills better than you, Matty.
No one's going to shill better than me when it comes to stadiums.
The shilliest of the shills.
On the show today, we will get to it. Jarius Jackson is the new interim head coach of the Edmonton Elks. Tom Gazzola, our very own EST's Tom Gazzola, had a one-on-one with him earlier this week. We'll hear that conversation. We'll get to our keys to an Elks victory. We'll get to our cool bet prop of the game. And we also want to hear from you in the nasty chat. 780-218-9999 also is the Paris Jewelers inbox. Those 2 ways to get in touch with us. Question of the show. I don't think I've ever seen a poll on Twitter have this type of voting. Did the Elks make the right move in firing Chris Jones this week? Yes or no? Over 100 votes. 99.1% are saying yes. 0.1% or 0.9% saying no.
Well, there's currently 113 votes. So I would say that 2 people have voted that it was not the right decision.
Usually on these polls, it's like 97% to 3 or something like.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen over 100 votes on a Twitter poll and it being over 99%.
That
Jay,
should tell you something.
Your thoughts? Are you with the majority in this one, or are you with the minority?
I, for once, am with the majority. Actually, I was with the majority last week too.
You said it.
But I am with the majority on this. Obviously, it just wasn't good enough, and the time had come where, yes, it was a short week, but for the organization, they simply couldn't hold on any longer. There was nothing to gain. All that at that point was going to happen was you were going to upset and offend your loyal fans, and they were very cautious of that, obviously. And late in the day Monday, I mean, we said it here on the post-game show that we thought this would have either happened during our post-game show or the following morning.
Yep.
This news didn't really come down the wire until about
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
It was dead on
Monday
3
afternoon. And had the boys scrambling, but the crew at EST got the job done and delivered a riveting hour and a half of breakdown and coverage of said firing. But no, I mean, in all honesty, 8-33 in his most recent stint as the coach of the Edmonton Elks, that's just not good enough. And it was nice to hear Rick Lawlisher stepping up and saying, yes, this is not good enough. This is not the way that this organization chooses to operate, and we won't stand for it any longer. So we will move forward better or worse. And we'll find out tonight what exactly that means. But he made it also very clear that this season is not going away. They are not considering this season to be done.
He made this move to try to turn this season around and win this year.
Well, they can.
And that's what he said. And even in his comment, it wasn't about what ownership wanted. It wasn't what the board wanted. It was what he wanted. He got their sign-off, but he wanted to turn this season around, and he needed to make this move, he felt, to turn this season around.
Well, you know what, Matty? In the nasty chat here, great point by TV Burkle. I sure hope they win, but I'm not sure they know how anymore. And that's a fair comment.
Yeah.
And we've been saying it throughout this stretch.
And I will say that actually goes beyond Chris Jones even.
Absolutely. Yeah, that goes into last year. And
goes to Jamie Elizondo.
Right. But honestly, and we've said it before, at least I have, and I think you understand what I'm saying when I say it, is that it just takes one win to really turn things around. It's amazing what one win can do, especially after you've made the changes you have and done the things that the organization has done this week. And you're asking a lot of Jarius Jackson, your new interim head coach. That was on the table. Yeah, you can go ahead. Yeah. But you're asking a lot of him in a short week. But I think the players will also feel a lot of onus on themselves, given that, their lack of play, their lack of focus, their continued screw-ups and errors have led to this. I certainly hope they take ownership of this, and you see a different ball club there out on the field.
To Babouche Stash saying, turn your mics up a bit, fellas. Just did that. So if it's still a little too quiet, let me know, and I will adjust on the fly here. Also, YTT in the Nasty Chat, YouTube Trev, with his YouTube channel, also above average. Give it a subscription. Go subscribe today. Great Oilers content he has there as well. Elks with that comeback win. So an early prediction from YTT there. Who
I like it.
We still haven't heard, Trev, whether you've been able to install the air conditioner or not.
Oh, no, I heard he didn't.
Wow, but it's that. When did you hear that?
About an hour and a half ago.
So he's at an hour and a half.
He's at an hour and a half, but he's got a big night tonight, Matty.
Sure, but
come on, we know what the stakes are.
He needs to get cool here.
He's got a big date, dog.
But do you want to not be cool going into it, or do you want to be sweating hot before you even go to it?
Or after.
We're live at Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge, where every day is game day. Come on down for the game. Jay and I are watching the game here. Come join us. We're expecting T-Roy to be here, Atif to be here. Ken says he's coming by. You could get the cheese and jalapeno smoky for $14. Comes with waffle fries, which we have tried earlier this year. No, it works with vinegar. Or you can get the daily special today. They've got a lot of great food on the menu. The daily special today is quesadillas for $10.99. So come on down, and Renee's
Jason and
here.
Andrea said they're coming, right?
Did they?
Yeah.
No one told me that.
Oh, you weren't following the Nasty Chat earlier, or at all?
I didn't see that. No, straight
Even
up.
on your own show. During the
I was
hangout.
on it. I didn't see it. Maybe I was looking at one of the many other things.
Maybe.
And Renee's here, we think.
Well, we
she's
think
going to be around
somewhere.
for the rest. She was at here for the start of it. Maybe she now ghosted. and isn't going to be around the rest of the time. Jump in the nasty chat. Jump in the Paris Jewelers inbox. Let's get to our 3 stories of the game, and we're going to continue with the big story, which was of this weekend. We'll start with Chris Jones being out. We'll start with the changes here. 0-5 season, 833 overall, 2-19 at home. This is also the first time ever Chris Jones has been fired anywhere in his career. He's always taken a promotion. He's always jumped somewhere else after doing well. Here in Edmonton, that's not the case. The 2 questions I have majorly here with Chris Jones, I'll start with the first one here to you, Jay, is where did this go wrong for Chris Jones in your eyes? Why didn't it work for Chris Jones in this 2 years and 6 weeks of the Canadian Football League? Why didn't it work for Chris Jones here in Edmonton?
Well, the reason I can have some semblance of an answer to this question is because of what I've seen with my own eyes at the press conference throughout the week, and seeing that Jarius Jackson has seemed to open a different level of his playbook. I honestly think that his ego got in the way. I think his ego caused him to not allow Trey Ford to get on the field in any sort of a package. I don't know where that relationship soured, but one of the first things Jarius Jackson said was that, not matter-of-factly, but he alluded to his playing days and how it was a three quarterback system. They all had a role. A lot of comments suggesting that, but we'll get to that. But his ego, I think, clearly got in the way, and his lack of ability to change on the fly. You're talking about a supposed defensive guru, and between him and Jason Shivers, you would think, as a fan, you'd say, oh, man, we're made in the shade on defense. That is clearly not the case. Focus is not the case. Discipline has gotten away from them. So obviously something was not right there. And it was said, I think Tommy may have mentioned it after the press conference, that we hear all this talk about how Chris Jones is such a player's coach, how the players love playing for him. Maybe that's why. Because he was not giving them the opportunity to be uncomfortable and forcing them to be uncomfortable. Maybe that led to what we have seen thus far from the Elks.
Yeah, I said it earlier this week, and I'll stick with it. I think the general manager, Chris Jones, cost head coach Chris Jones his job. That's where this issue came from, is he didn't bring the players for Chris Jones to win. And I'll start defensively. Which player in this defensive group that you look at, this starting lineup for tonight, do you sit there and go, Chris Jones brought that guy in and that guy in, and what finds did he find? Because Niles Morgan came before Chris Jones.
I mean, you have to look
there are some players that Anderson looks like a decent player. Brown has been okay. But overall, like Purifoy.
I was going to say, Purifoy at safety has seemed to be,
But a veteran that was let go and
yeah, he can deliver the boom and do all that stuff.
But in so many other places, Chris Jones went out and tried because he was smarter than everyone else.
Right.
I'm going to go find. I'm going to spend money on the offense. I'm going to go spend money at quarterback. I'm going to spend a boatload of money in wide receiver because I'm going to go find defenders. I'm going to go find defenders cheap because I'm going to coach him up because I'm that good of a defensive coordinator, defensive coach. And look, I still think he can be a really strong defensive coach somewhere. But he didn't find the players in the end. He didn't find the players then that he could coach up. And through 2 years and 5 games, we didn't see anything close to a Chris Jones defense that we saw when he was in Toronto, when he was in Saskatchewan, when he was in Edmonton, to when he was in Toronto, to Calgary, to Montreal. Every place he's ever been, his defenses have been unbelievable. They've been things in 14-15. I enjoyed watching the defense more than Michael Riley's offense because I just loved how good those defenses were.
They were fun to watch, dynamic, right?
Absolutely, but we never saw anything come close to that. Last year, look how many times they got blown out. And that's where Chris Jones, general manager, went, I'm smarter than everyone else. I don't need a Jake Ceresna. I'll go find defensive linemen. And he didn't find them.
Well, and to add to your point, Matty, it's to say, okay, the fellas that were brought in here as Chris Jones's guys, when you come in knowing that you're the guy that brought you here is the head coach and GM, that psychologically has to affect you in a way that might say, okay, he's my guy. He's there for me. And maybe offer you the ability or the capability to slack off or to maybe laugh things off a bit more than they should. We certainly saw laughter from the face of Boris Beatty after that her just awful play at the end of the game. We all know what happened. But to sit on the sideline and be like, my bad, guy. Like, that stuff, a head coach should be somebody that, yes, I can come up and knock on your door and expect to have a conversation about, this or that or playing time and get a decent answer. But you also have to have a head coach that you somewhat fear, that can pull the rug out for you, and there's not that friendship as much as there is a respect. And I think that line was stepped over, and ultimately, with his ego back into play, was the falling down of Chris Jones.
Second question I had on this, one thing Rick Lawlisher said in the press conference was Chris Jones leaves this organization as a better football team. Do you agree with that?
Chris Jones leaves this?
He's left this team in a better spot than when he first took over.
Well, yeah, because he left. That's simple.
Well, I will say he did. This team is a better football team than when Jamie Elizondo, Brock Sunderland, and Chris Preston got fired at that point.
Yes.
When that disaster happened, that would have been the 2021 season, I believe it was. When that ended, I remember doing a post-game show. That might have been with Hernan at the time. And we looked at the starting roster, offense, defense, and I think I maybe named 2 or 3 players. I'm like, if that guy doesn't return next year, I'm like, that's a shame. Everyone else, they can go. I don't care. This team ultimately, while 0-5, they're a better football team than they were in his first year. And that was the process he needed to turn this thing around. And they are better. Now, is that saying a lot? No.
Maddie,
that's the other part to this, is that doesn't actually say a lot that they're a better team than when he first took over. That's how bad things were. But I will say then, in the end, Rick Lawlisher was correct on that Chris Jones, he improved this team a little bit. But this is a results-based business, as Rick also said, and a change then needed to be made.
I know this isn't what you want to hear, but by the numbers, by the stats, this team is a much improved team, even over last year's squad.
Yes.
Right? They just haven't gotten the wins. They haven't been able to finish games. And ultimately, I think that has to fall on your head coach. So if the same Edmonton squad shows up tonight under new direction, new leadership, maybe more of a head coach role than what Chris Jones brought to the table, then I expect them to win. You could even see them winning by double digits if they can play their game and not make these costly errors and these silly mistakes that have just killed them in the first 5 games of the year.
Andrea says in the Paris Jewelers inbox that Eric read it out during the morning show.
Okay.
So,
Lucas in a Redford Ranger. How you doing, Lucas? How long is Jackson's leash if he slaps the fans in the face and doesn't play forward? Now
Tonight. He had it tonight. He also says Jones drafted Ford, and Lucas is a big Chris Jones guy.
Now,
and an anti-Trey Ford guy. I'm throwing that out there, Luke.
My guy. But no, I'm not anti-Trey Ford. I just don't think he's ready to be the starting quarterback. Anyways, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole.
I'm calling Luke a hater of Trey Ford.
Anyways, Lucas, to answer your question, if Trey Ford doesn't get into the game tonight, I don't think Elks fans should be that surprised. This was a short week. I believe that he will. I believe there will be 2 or 3 series that they just give the ball to Trey Ford and say, and I'm not talking in the red zone. I'm not talking, in a certain spot in the field. I'm saying, hey, it's your series. You go ahead and take it. We've got a package that is tailored to your benefits, to use your legs, to get outside the pocket. I think that's ultimately what you should expect. Whether or not it happens tonight, given that it's been a short week, it's tough to say. But, I mean, there's no question that was very, very clear. Almost as clear as President Rick Lawlisher saying that this season's not over. We have not given up on this season. That's how emphatically I feel about the Trey Ford getting into the game.
This transitions into storyline number 2, which is Jarius Jackson, now the interim head coach of the Edmonton Elks, to what Luke has there. And I know what he's saying there, too, but also this is an interim coach. Jarius Jackson gets the season because if things don't go well, you fired your coach in the season. To a degree, as much as Rick Lawlisher wants to say they're trying to turn the season around, you're in a tough spot at 0-5 right off the bat. So if the season ends up being a disaster, at least the fans know that there's a new head coach coming in next season, a new general manager, a new president, new ownership. I'm with you. Like, Trey Ford is going to see the field straight up. This isn't going to be a case tonight. I'm with you. I'm okay if it doesn't happen tonight. And once again, I'm the president of the Trey Ford fan club. I'm okay if it doesn't happen because it is that short week. Because when this decision was made, they had 2 days of practice. That is it. And after today, after they finish with Ottawa, they don't play till next Sunday. So they got a lot of time. There's going to be a lot of practice time next week where they could go out and they could practice the plays that they need to with Trey Ford to get the team overall, not Trey Ford necessarily, but the whole team overall to be ready for those packages or those plays that Trey Ford's going to have when he goes into the lineup. We will see Trey Ford, though. That's the fact. Like, maybe it is as early as tonight. But you had Jarius Jackson, and we will hear the conversation that Tommy had with Jarius Jackson. But he was said in the scrum of the press conference, he said, McLeod Bethel-Thompson's my starter. But we have 3 quarterbacks, and we're going to do things differently. Rick Lawlisher with the Morning Boys this week, with Dusty and Eric. He talked about, he says, I'm not a football guy, but this franchise has a history of 2 quarterbacks. Clearly, that's a reference to, hey, maybe we should play our other quarterback as well. And I'm guessing G-Roy and Jarius Jackson got that message. I'm guessing that Rick Lawlisher gave that message a little more clearly in the offices as they were being told, you are now the interim GM and head coach respectively of you might want to play Trey Ford a little bit. You might want to throw him out there and see what can happen for whatever reason that is the case. So we will get Trey Ford. It's a matter of what's he going to do when he gets the ball? Like it's that now, and I've said this for a while. I feel bad because there's going to be that extra pressure because now everyone's focused on Trey Ford a little bit more. But he's going to have an opportunity, and when he gets that football, he's going to have to make the most out of it. We had Ryan Holt on the Oil Stream today, and we were talking about some other players in hockey and stuff, and he says, I can't remember exactly which player it was, but it's like sometimes you just go with, it's a nice. What did you touch for? Oh, just the pausing?
Where it paused you.
I don't want it to.
Not really
I usually put
look.
it back there. It was not.
Okay.
It was, you get 5 reps, and this was a hockey reference. So you get 5 reps. You make the most of those reps to then get 10. Oh, he was talking about actually Tom Brady in the past.
Okay.
Where you get those 5 key reps. You make the most of it so that the team's going to be like, hey, we're going to give you 10 reps.
Right.
And then you make the most of it to get 15 reps. And Trey Ford, whatever time he gets on the field, he's got to make the most of it. He's got to show that you're worth putting out even a couple more plays and a few more plays. And if this team keeps sputtering and losing, because now you've had that play time, you will have the situation where the Jarius Jackson's like, I have no other choice but to go to you because look what you've done when you've been on the field. So it's going to be on Trey Ford now to show that he's worthy of actually one day getting that starting job. This is very clear to me that the reason Trey Ford hasn't seen the field is Chris Jones. I'll just go with there.
I was just going to say, I mean, it's funny when the big bad boogeyman goes away, all this Trey Ford talk starts happening. There was clearly a barrier to accessing the field from Trey Ford from former head coach Chris Jones. But look, you got to understand, Jarius Jackson has a starting QB who ranks number 3 in the CFL.
Yep.
He's averaging 299.4 yards per game. He's on pace to throw over 5,300 yards. That would put him in the upper echelon of former Eskimo and Elk greats. You cannot overlook
really
that.
Elk greats.
Eskimo greats.
Yeah, there haven't been Elks greats. There haven't been Elks greats.
Great point. Touche. But you got to look.
Is he better than Taylor Cornelius? You know?
Oh God.
Like,
I think
very
you
low
can get
bar.
out there, labor
Very
and
low
surgery
bar.
and everything, and throw better than Taylor Cornelius, for God's sake. Anyways, but what I'm saying is you have a really good quarterback. But do you think, I have a time of day to listen to saying, hey, MBT gets, 3 series, 4 series, Trey Ford come in for 1. Throw that defense off.
That's the thing.
They've never seen Trey Ford. And, he's fast. And he said this year when we saw him at the Elks Day, the fan day, that he's faster than he's ever been in his life. So let's see this horse run. Why not? Right? Throw them on their heels. There's no film on Trey Ford from this year. What a perfect game to have you want to have a coming out party, Jarius Jackson? Do that. Get MBT his touches, get Trey Ford in the game early.
Or you save that.
Screw that.
For next Sunday.
No.
With the fans.
Nope.
And you let them roar with Trey Ford when he takes to the field.
No. Here's why. Because if you do it tonight, then you're going to get more fans at that game next week. And as an organization, and as Rick Lawlisher is clearly aware of, the fans want Trey Ford. He was sitting in the stadium when the Trey Ford chants were happening. He's not dumb. He's not naive. He knows that there is a bit of give the fans what they want, especially if you can have him deliver and contribute. Here's
a question I will throw to you, though. Is this a little weird in the locker room where do you think there's any issues in the locker room of the crowd and the fans are demanding Trey Ford? They're wanting Trey Ford. A coaching change has happened, and it's being one of the things that's being hinted out there is, we're going to get Trey Ford out there. Do you think the locker room goes, this guy's only going to get in because everyone wants him, and it's
he wouldn't be in that locker room. He wouldn't be listed second on the depth chart if he didn't deserve to be there.
Okay.
This is professional football. These are professional athletes. Anything to win the ball game. Nobody cares how you got the W. Just get the damn W. And Box Pounder had to laugh at your comment about Elks greats. He was chiming in the nasty chat saying Elks greats with a laugh.
Right now, there's not a lot of Elks greats.
And you know what?
I'd have to go through it and see who would be considered a great from that part of this franchise history.
Why don't you read Lucas's comment? Lucas is on fire tonight, by the way.
Well, here's the thing. Lucas picked up Trey Ford for his fantasy team.
And here's the thing, though. But read his comment, and then that'll get us to our third point.
Well, no, because I'm not done with point 2.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not done with point 2.
Carry on.
So I'll read that after. I think my issue is you're trying to fix a problem that isn't broken. You have a defense that can't stop much and a quarterback who's really good, and we're worried about the backup. Put Trey in on D. Give fans Trey on D.
Clearly, he's joking.
But I will go back to right now. Fans want this franchise needs to sell tickets. That's part of this. And at least if Trey Ford is out there, that's who they wanted. He can sell tickets. McLeod Bethel-Thompson's not a sexy quarterback. He's doing a lot of great things, but it's not flashy. And when you have sure, you can have a really nice Toyota Corolla to drive you around, but if you have a Lamborghini, why don't you drive a Lamborghini? And maybe that's obviously not a fair comparison because McLeod Bethel-Thompson's better than that, and Trey Ford's probably not as far as a Lamborghini, but Toyota Corolla could drive you wherever you need to go type thing as well.
Yeah.
The other part, though, to this, the bigger part, at least to me with this, was this is what I said back in Feb. The roster construct. We're talking about the defense and Chris Jones not finding players. He could have had a differently constructed roster by spending some money on defense because he could save money at quarterback by having quarterback Trey Ford in and not McLeod Bethel-Thompson, and maybe he's got better secondary players. Maybe he's got better defensive line players. Again, I'm just pointing to the trade, but Curly Gittens Jr. for Jake Seresna. What would Jake Seresna be helping this team on the defensive line if he didn't have to make that trade? Because Curly Gittens Jr. was only brought in because he's got a connection to McLeod Bethel-Thompson. It's that part that is the frustration here, is that in the end, Chris Jones's arrogance of, I'm going to build this team, I'm going to find defenders, I don't need to spend money on defense, and I'm going to bring a quarterback in to win, it didn't work. And that's part of the issue when it comes to defense. Jarius Jackson, just quick, do you expect we'll see anything different from Jarius Jackson in other ways beyond that quarterbacking position? Or is this...
I don't know. I think the only real hindrance for him was the no-go on Trey Ford. I mean, we've said it all year long. Run the damn ball. It's been successful.
That's the one.
When you run the ball, it works. And you got to keep doing that to get your to set... the run sets up the pass, and the pass sets up the run. It needs to be consistent, though. So I don't know where. I mean, Jarius Jackson had a great tenure with Kevin Brown last season. Kevin Brown tore up big yards every game. He was doing, 50, 60, 80, 100, more. I had an over-under on him on 44.5 last week. He was at 26 by the end of the first quarter, for God's sake. He didn't even get to it. And they were being successful running the ball. So I would really like to see that.
But does that change now? And that's what I don't know, because I don't think that's Chris Jones. That's Jarius Jackson's offensive coordinator.
Well, then
that's the intriguing part with all of that.
Not only did the locker room maybe get shook up about this and wake up, maybe Jarius Jackson has to look in the mirror and say, dang, I got to get back to the basics of football, and I can't just put this all on the arm of McLeod Bethel-Thompson. Use Kevin Brown. Use Javon Leake in that offense and get them touches.
I'm also intrigued how Jason Shivers responds to this.
Yeah,
his defensive coordinating calling hasn't been good, but how much we don't know this. I'm just throwing how much was Chris Jones still involved? Is he a little free? Was he wanting to do things differently that he wasn't able to do that now he's going to do, or was this fully his defense? We're going to now kind of fully learn. I know, speaking to you, I don't know if it was on the Hangout you mentioned or if it was just off the air. They need to start getting to the quarterback with some blitzes more and stop rushing 3.
Yes, that was That was actually my next point.
Okay, we will get to the defense momentarily here. This is the Green and Gold Kickoff Show live from Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge. Matt Iwanyk, Jay Milne with you here on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tune in iHeartRadio as well as those watching on YouTube. Do want to just get to a couple of other comments that came in the Nasty Chat. Shotgun Sports Network, which is Section X of the Elks herd. Hello, Scout and Catherine. Big day for the Elks. A win would start the turnaround. Coming back to Edmonton with a win to face the Ticats at home would mean everything. He's also saying smash the thumbs up. That'd be greatly appreciated. Smash the thumbs up. Also give us a sub. Go give Shotgun Sports Network a sub as well.
Yeah.
Give us a sub, though. We hit 9,500.
2 for 1.
So we're closing in on that 10,000. A 3 for 1 because we also want above average for
That's right.
YTT. Just want to see, make sure I didn't miss anything else.
Well, Calvin
that
Best
one.
chimed in and said, fans want wins. Double E were close this year. Just adjust to not have those mistakes to lose. Don't throw in a different quarterback yet.
Box Pounder, any offense would suck with this offensive line.
Not true. This offensive line isn't the problem.
It could be better, though.
Meh.
Could be better.
It's not terrible.
Look how long it's been. How many times they can't punch it in on the first attempt with Prukop. And it's not because of Prukop.
Yeah, it is.
Prukop all of a sudden gets terrible?
No,
when
it's
it
been
comes to
terrible all
Edmonton?
year.
But he's been good everywhere else
It's
he's
been
ever been.
terrible in short yardage all year.
Exactly, because it was terrible
No, it's
last year.
because he goes
The
off
O-line-
tackle.
But he'll come up the middle and still not get it done.
You're supposed to go up the middle. He's an awful short yardage quarterback.
He's been great everywhere else
There, I said
until he's come to Edmonton.
Well, I don't know. Maybe put him at safety. Quarterbacks usually transition to safety pretty well.
Were you a quarterback
That's why I said that.
in high school?
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it was awesome. I was like Dan Marino out there.
But it just couldn't do it once he got to the next level.
No, I went to try out at the North-South Bowl, and they said, you're not a quarterback. You're a safety. I said, okay, coach, wherever you need me.
My brother was a safety.
Really?
He was a safety.
Mikey boy.
Let's get to our third story of the game, which is the defense. And largely, Luke is right. This team doesn't get any better if the defense keeps playing the way that it has. Almost 320 yards per game given up. They've actually dropped to being the second last passing defense in the Canadian Football League. Remember a couple weeks ago, somehow they were still sitting fourth?
Yeah.
They've collapsed, and
That
they've
was an
now
anomaly.
dropped right to the bottom. Almost 100 yards per game given up on the ground. Over 400 yards per game given up overall, this defense through 5 games. They just absolutely need to be a lot better, or this team isn't going to go anywhere. No questions about it. It doesn't matter what the offense does. You're going to give up those yards. You're going to give up those points. You make it that easy for the other team. There's just going to be a lot more losses in the future of the Double E.
Well, look, here's the facts of the matter. Niles Morgan, their starting middle linebacker, who is probably the strength of their defense. You'd be hard-pressed to find another player that's doing as much as him. He is the only Edmonton player in the top 5 of any of the defensive statistic categories, and that's in defensive tackles. That's not really the greatest stat that you want to, shine your light about, is being the leader or third in the CFL in defensive tackles. Defensive ends, Romeo McKnight and Elliott Brown. Defensive tackles, Noah Curtis and Sean Oakman. They need to pressure. They need to get in the face of Drew Brown. I said it on the Hangout today. I don't care if you got 5 Deion Sanders in the backfield, in the defensive secondary. If you're giving the quarterback 7, 8, 9 seconds to throw the ball, of course your receivers are going to get open. And Jason Shivers, I said it last week. I hope you listened. I know he listens all the time. I hope he listened. Play a little more zone. You don't got the horses to play man and chase, Pimpleman up the field. It just ain't going to happen. Put yourself in zone. I'm getting into my 3 points to an Elks win, man. Were you looking at my notes?
I was not.
Okay.
I was not.
But anyways, I'll get to it in depth when it comes to that part of the show. But honestly, the defensive just needs to be better. Send some blitz packages where you're sending 4 or 5 guys. Like if you're just constantly bringing what is here, it's obviously not doing enough. There was a time early in the season where Curtis Brown was second in the league in sacks. Let's get back to the basics on defensive line. Run some stunts. Create some pressure for Drew Brown. Because, the Elks made him look like Tom Brady last week.
He was great.
sensational.
Well, the receivers also, like when that Pimpleton runs the first over 70 yards on one play,
They were all
that's
catching
really nice.
runs.
But now, does this defense have the horses to be better?
That's the question.
Like that's
the question.
If you blitz, is it going to be? Are they going to still be able to? Like, you could send 8 guys if you want.
Well,
but if they still can't get there, and Drew Brown has time to just quickly dump it off to Pimpleton again, he's gone for an easy touchdown once again.
That's the give and take with the blitz packages. You have to have your defensive secondary.
Do they have
in
the
man-to-man
horses to
coverage.
do that?
No. So I guess
That's
maybe
Jason
those 4
Shivers,
people.
maybe Jason Shivers might be screwed as defensive coordinator because, again, I go back to what I said earlier. Chris Jones, general manager, screwed up the defense.
Yeah, it very well could be that he just doesn't have the horses and he's trying to, slapstick something together here. But there's just no pressure. There's zero pressure. Drew Brown was not sacked once last week. I don't even know. I guess he was hurried on that interception.
Yes.
But that was just an awful throw.
But look what happens.
Yeah, true
they
enough.
forced him to make an awful throw, and they picked the ball off. Yep. That's the stuff about getting the pressure on the quarterback is, especially like Drew Brown is not Bo Levi Mitchell in his prime. I think you get him thinking on his feet. He can't do it.
Unsettle him.
And he's going to make that mistake. Actually, VA's a quarterback that still makes those mistakes. Like, he's a quarterback that still, if you get to the pressure, VA is going to make that mistake, and he's going to throw that interception. There's not a lot of good quarterbacks that just make the right play under pressure. The thing is, the Elks don't get that pressure to force that quarterback to make those mistakes. And especially like Drew Brown, it's his first career year as a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
It's early in his season. You should be able to get to him because he doesn't have that experience yet to know what to do fully when he's under pressure.
Well, and you certainly shouldn't get lit up like a Christmas tree by a first-year quarterback in his 5th game of the year. Just unacceptable. Be better. You're professional athletes.
Be better.
Be better.
Well, also be better, Boris Beatty. And Javon Leak.
I don't even want to talk
Javon Leak, hold on to the damn football. Way too many times that ball's been put on the ground by him. Twice this season through 5 games. Key moments. Tommy said it for him last week. That was his turning point. The fumble Javon Leak had in the first half.
Very costly.
It was the turning point of the game against the Saskatchewan Roughriders when he fumbled. Javon Leak needs to hold on to that football. He was brought in to be a good kick returner. They're giving him chances or gave him chances to be a running back, but he's put the ball on the ground twice. If he gets another shot at it, he doesn't have many more.
Yeah.
He can't put the rest of the season. He can't put that ball on the turf, or he doesn't get to see the football again as a running back.
No, it's just been too costly, and it's been happening at very, very bad times. I mean, you look at the Elks were marching last week, and I don't want to talk about the past too much, but you'd be remiss if you didn't realize that they were marching the ball. They were on their way to go into either putting up 7 or kicking a field goal to go up 18-6 or 22-6, and then next thing you know, it's 15-13. That swing cost them a lot of momentum going into the locker room at halftime.
We've got to get to our cool bet props of the game, our keys to an Elks victory. Jay's got a prediction. Also, somebody else gave me a prediction from here at Century Casino, so I want to get to that as well.
I'm going to change it up today with my prediction. I'm just going to predict who wins.
That's all you have to do. Yeah, that's fine.
My scores, I think,
scores are all over the place.
I think I'm part responsible for the 0-5 record.
So you're just.
I'm just going to change it up, and then we'll get off
so
the
you're scared.
I'm not scared. I ain't scared of nothing, Matty.
Then give a score.
You give me a prediction.
Don't want to.
No. I'm not scared.
I didn't say I was not scared. I never said anything.
This guy.
You guys all rip me, and then also I don't want to give. I'm only going to give half a prediction.
I'll give you a score. I'll
only give you half a prediction.
I'll give you a prediction.
I'll only give you half a prediction.
Elks win by double digits. Boom. There,
that's actually the other prediction I got from here. Blowout.
Really?
I came in. Just one of the workers here. She came to me. He's like, "Oh, they're going to win tonight." I was like, "I don't know." And your thoughts? He's like, "Everyone thinks it's going to be close, but I think a blowout." Actually, the line's been fascinating on this one too. Ottawa opened up as 2.5-point favorites.
Okay.
It's dropped down to 1-point favorite for the Ottawa Redblacks.
Well, it's even money. I think it's a wash. The odds are money line's the same price.
Okay, I got it quickly. I want to. Usually we play a little bit audio a little bit later in the show. Okay. I want to get to Tommy and Jerry's Jackson momentarily here. The 2 lines that have absolutely the other 3 games have all stunned me with their lines this week. The Riders, yesterday was 3.5 points. The Riders are 4.5 points underdogs at home to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The Bombers went out and beat Ottawa and Calgary. They still are dealing with injuries. The Rough Riders lost their first game of the season to the BC Lions last week. They're actually looking really good. I know they lose Hardrick on the offensive line, but they got Malik Carney back on the defensive line. They are home. That line keeps shifting the other way. I have no idea why that's the case. Absolutely zero respect being given to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I'm stunned that the Argos Ticats line is at 2.5, that the Argos are that little favorites over the Ticats, and that actually opened up 4.5-point
Argos
favorites.
aren't that good enough. They're not as good as they are. I can see Hamilton.
Over Hamilton?
I can see Hamilton sneaking that out.
That started at 4.5, and it's shifted to 2.5, which is wild. But then the line, Huss and I were talking about the lock shop yesterday, the line that hasn't changed all week is the BC Lions against the Calgary Stampeders at 4.5. I can see the Lions easily winning by a touchdown here.
Yeah.
How that line hasn't shifted more the BC Lions way. And every other game, and we've seen the line shift mightily at Coolbet. That's just, I'm completely stunned by that one. But we'll get to our prop of the game. Like I said, keys to a victory and Jay's half prediction. That's coming up here on the Green and Gold Kickoff Show live from Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge. But first, here's a conversation Tom Gazzola had earlier this week with interim head coach of the Edmonton Elks, Jairus Jackson.
How does that sound, first of all?
It sounds good, but you know, it's due to unfortunate circumstances, right? It's always tough day when you lose a great friend of yours.
I ask you, how does that sound, first of all?
It sounds good, but you know, it's due to unfortunate circumstances, right? It's always tough day when you lose a great friend of yours that was the head coach and Coach Jones, and you know he was doing his best to bring this community a winning team and a winning organization, and you know, we felt a little short in supporting him and helping him do that. But you know, on the flip side of things, when one door closes, another one opens. You know, I know this is probably not the most ideal situation for most people, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna try to, you know, finish where Coach Jones started.
You've been around this league for a long time, player, now coach. We've seen coaching changes mid-season around the league. Guys are close, tight-knit community. From your experiences, what you know, when there is a coaching change in season, how can a team best adapt on the fly and salvage something?
Well, you know, the best way is to just continue to go out and play, right? Like for us, I think we have a great group of guys in that locker room. I feel like we have a great group of guys on the second floor, and you know, the business side of things, you know, support us, you know, wholeheartedly. So, you know, for us, I think it's going to be, like I was saying earlier, just keep believing, having hope, and that's what we're going to be pumping to these guys, is pumping positivity, and just understanding that we're only a play away. Like for the past few weeks, I know it sounds like a broken record, but you know, we've been 1 or 2 plays away. There's normally 5 or 6 plays in a game that determine the outcome of a game, and so we just got to be better at not, you know, flubbing those up and you know, giving teams, you know, kicking the ball out of bounds or giving teams, you know, great field position, right? So we need to play the field position game a little bit more. We need to offensively stay on the field more and just continue to put points on the board.
All right, you are the offensive coordinator as well and have been. Your team has put points on the board. You get those late TDs yesterday. To those saying we want to see Trey as opposed to McLeod Bethel Thompson, you're the guy at the helm. What would you tell those that are pushing for something that maybe you're not ready for?
Well, you know, McLeod is our starter, and he's going to be our starter. And now, one thing that I am going to talk to the staff about is potentially, you know, interjecting, you know, with Dakota or Trey a time or two here and there. That doesn't mean McLeod is not our starter, though. Like, so I'm saying that, you know, firmly. He is our starter, but, you know, we're going to do what we need to do in order to win games.
How about handling your staff and dealing with the guys and being the go-to sounding board? Do you think it's going to be tougher to be the head coach, and do you have to give more of a kick sometimes as opposed to being able to be the voice and the guy that players can lean on? Do you see a change in that?
No, as of right now, I don't. I mean, we'll see if that changes as we move forward. But as of right now, you know, I'm going to be me. And like I said, I think I have a great support staff with the guys that are downstairs on the second floor. You know, I've worked with those guys a lot of years now, and they know what I expect offensively. I mean, me moving into the head coaching position is not going to be anything different as far as where the bar is set.
Jairus, I know there's probably some fans saying, what kind of changes are you going to implement? Come on, Jairus, you got to change something quickly to get this thing going. Like you said, a couple plays away from wins, absolutely. But do you already have the mind working, some things in mind that you're going to switch up? I don't want to give away anything that you might be slipping in pretty quick here.
Well, of course I do. I mean, there's a few things that come to mind right now. Like I said, I won't discuss. I think it's more internal than anything. But yeah, there's a few things that come to mind, and you know, again, I'll brainstorm with the staff as well. But for myself personally, yes, I do have a few things that I'll probably switch up a little bit.
How excited are you to be a head coach in this league?
Very excited. I think this has been an opportunity that I've always wanted, but like I said, unfortunately the way it's happening. But coaches get hired and fired all the time. So.
Yeah, very true. Congratulations on a bittersweet day. Thanks for the time, Jairus.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So that was Tom Gazzola with Jairus Jackson, who's the interim head coach of the Edmonton Elks. That was on Monday, that interview, just after Jairus Jackson was introduced to the media as the interim head coach. Jairus Jackson, the interim general manager. This decision made by the interim president. And
G. Roy Simon.
G. Roy Simon, sorry. And we'll have new ownership at some point who then will have to – it's a perfect time for new ownership because they get to come in, they get to hire a president pretty cleanly. They get to hire a general manager pretty cleanly. They get to hire a head coach rather cleanly. Chris Jones is owed 5/18 of his salary next year.
Yeah. That had to also play into the decision to do it now. It must.
Well, I guess.
Well, why not give him 5/18 if you don't have to give him 6/18? Or I guess that would be 1/3.
But that's where you could have also done a bye week and only owned him 4.
Well, they made a decision to give him that.
They gave him that.
But that's in the past, Matt. We're looking into the future.
The nasty chat, Norman at Combine. Hey, glue guy, my AC, my truck quit working. How many likes? Changing 20. And then Box Pounder, my AC quit and my kitten melted. Oh, no. My thermostat only goes to 41 degrees Celsius. Help me, glue guy. So
if we get to 300 likes by the end of this show.
Don't make promises. Don't be making
Air
promises.
conditioning units for everyone.
We're still waiting for YTT to give us some sort of heads up on how it's going. Our question of the show, did the Elks make the right move firing Chris Jones? On Twitter, at 143 votes, it's 99.3%. So it's actually going up.
It's actually getting stronger.
0.7% saying no. So the bots of Twitter even agree that Chris Jones should be fired. Everyone, people on all spectrums, everything, they're just all agreeing Chris Jones needed to go. Jenny saying yes and should have been done weeks, if not seasons ago. Well, it couldn't have been seasons ago because that would have been only after the first season if it was seasons.
It's just Jenny's right, okay? Seasons.
Okay. You think Chris Jones should have been fired after the first year?
No.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though.
I'm just trying to be nice to Jenny. She's listening,
Well, that was on Twitter.
Twitter, okay, sorry.
She might not be listening. Well, but if she is, hi, Jenny.
Hi, Jenny.
Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to our Coolbet prop of the game. Go to coolbet.com. They got this multiplier. Every week you can make one bet on the Canadian Football League. You can add a 20% multiplier on it. I've done that for one of my bets for this weekend. Jay, what are you looking at for tonight's game?
Well, I have circled a prop bet here because I wanted to get off of the Bethel Thompson train because I've been on that for the last couple of weeks. Although I thought it was okay, 1.5 touchdowns or more tonight. But I'm going to go with a player that I think, based off his receptions to touchdown ratio, is due, and that is number 19 on your program, Curly Gittens Jr., to score a touchdown, plus 130. So for those of you at home, if you bet 10 cents, you will receive back 13 cents. I like it. I like touchdown scores because it gives you a nice little reason to watch. But just looking, he's got 31 receptions, only 2 touchdowns. So that's a little off by the numbers. So I'm going to play that one.
I'm looking at a receiver as well for the Edmonton Elks. I'm looking at Eugene Lewis.
I love this one.
His over-under is 60.5 yards, minus 110. He was frustrated after last week. I don't know if anyone saw his post-game press conference, but he was not happy. You could tell that he's not happy about the amount of targets he has or has had this season.
That's minus 110?
Minus 110. Last week, he had 6 catches on 6 targets for 89 yards.
Probably 5 of those came in the fourth quarter.
5 of those came at 3:47 in the third quarter or later.
Yeah, that's right.
He had 1 catch before the 4 minutes left in the third quarter in that entire football game. And because he was 6 for 6, he had only 1 target also prior to that. What happened afterwards, he was catching the football left, right, and center, and it all started with that beautiful catch in coverage.
Yes.
Where it was, how did he do that? How did he catch that football? The thing about Eugene Lewis is, I heard earlier this year that he wasn't getting open. Eugene Lewis doesn't need to get open to get the football. You throw the football to Eugene Lewis, he will find a way to make that catch in regular coverage, in double coverage, maybe even a little bit in triple coverage. I wonder if MBT just didn't understand that fully as a quarterback, that it's used to not having a guy like that. They're pretty rare, where he's looking for open receiver, And he's not seeing Eugene open, so he's not throwing him the football. And then finally threw him the football, and he caught it, and maybe that opened things up for McLeod Bethel-Thompson. He sits there and goes, oh, I could actually just literally throw him the football wherever he is, and he's going to find a way to snag this. Oh, okay, I'm going to start throwing to him. But after down that stretch, 5 catches, he ends up with over 89 yards. Also, he had 1 extra target that doesn't count on the stats, but the pass interference that went to the 1, that was thrown to Eugene Lewis. So I'm expecting that maybe that's the moment. I've been waiting all season for the McLeod Bethel-Thompson, Eugene Lewis chemistry to click in. Maybe that fourth quarter and a little bit of the third quarter is that moment, and it switches. And I'm expecting McLeod Bethel-Thompson to look to Eugene Lewis a little bit more tonight than we have seen the rest of the season, looking at it more like he did in that fourth quarter. So when I'm seeing 60.5 yards, he had 89 last week, all in a quarter and a bit, basically. I'm loving that number. I'm thinking a big game for Eugene Lewis. I was debating whether I should go with Eugene Lewis or Dominic Grimes for fantasy. I went with Eugene. Dominic's sitting on my bench.
I like it because you may have awakened a giant. And
that's the thing.
I would put the defensive backs and the rest of the CFL on notice because I think Eugene Lewis had a coming out party late in the game and did a ton of damage. And like you just laid out perfectly, Matty, that may have just given MBT the, what the hell have I been doing all year? That may have made him shake his head and say, no, I gotta feed this guy the rock because he is playing for me.
Yep.
And when that connection starts growing like that, I think this is a nice one you hit there on the over-under of 60.5 yards. Well done.
And if he doesn't get that, and if he doesn't get the targets, I'm expecting we'll probably see Eugene Lewis actually lose it a little bit.
I don't see how you can go back now. I don't see how after that performance, like you said, 5 catches after the 3-minute mark in the third quarter, I don't see how you can go backwards.
I can tell how many yards he had too quickly. If you just give me a quick second. In that game, his first catch was for 7 yards. So in those 5 catches in the third quarter later, if my math is correct, that's 82 yards on 5 catches.
And Charlie Dufault in the nasty chat, the Elks don't have a quarterback problem. MBT has been playing above average. He's number 3 in the CFL. He's suggesting maybe the Elks should use Prukop as their number 1 QB.
It's going to be Trey Ford if it's a number 1 QB. If they're going to make that change.
Trey Ford. Prukop is their short yardage guy, albeit I do not like the way he handles the short yardage. Wheels Atif is in the house.
Sorry, I didn't bring my tape I usually tape that down, so apologies.
Round of clicks for Wheels.
There we go.
There you go.
I also got the hat for you to buy.
Yeah, nothing's free with this guy. Nothing's free.
Not even for these guys.
Not even
no one gets free stuff with me. And that's the thing, going back to the Trey Ford MBT debate. I think fans could live with the idea that Trey Ford comes on the field for a little bit.
Of course they could.
They'll be able to see it. And McLeod Bethel-Thompson is not the reason this team is 0-5.
Because there's strategy behind it. It's not just let's
and they get to see him still.
Yeah, it's not just let's satisfy the fans. No, if you throw off that defense a little bit, throw a little change here, a little pop in the offense, that's never hurt anybody.
But also, McLeod Bethel-Thompson is a very highly paid quarterback in the Canadian Football League, and he's not the reason they have wins yet. And that needs to change soon. Because if that doesn't change soon, I don't care about how well he's throwing the football. I don't care how many yards he gets. If they don't win football games at some point, you then have to just make some other changes, and it might be that quarterbacking position.
Well, it should be defensive changes before anything changes.
Well, they did. They brought in Oakman and they brought in Moncrief.
Well, then show up.
They're going to do a little bit more.
Tonight's the night. Make or break.
Yeah.
Seriously.
No, 100%. But there's only where else are you going to find defensive players? If there's ever the time, and it's I think a little bit more myth nowadays than what it once was. But you got the post Labor Day, post NFL cuts, and you get the airlift in that people will argue about. Where else are you going to get defenders right now to help play? So what else can you do to try to turn this thing around?
Not much.
That's where you maybe like if they drop this week in Hamilton, maybe that's where you're saying, let's try Trey Ford. What else do we got? What else are we going to do?
But with that defense, you got to like YTT tonight on his date. You got to dance with the one that brought you, and that's who you got. That's who you stuck with. So game plan for that. Don't put them in positions where they're going to be torched and put in compromised positions, and that will be one of my keys to the games, Matty.
Elks, Redblacks coming up just after 5 o'clock. on TSN. It is a doubleheader, as the other game tonight will have Winnipeg taking on the Saskatchewan Roughriders. The other games then this weekend, tomorrow you got Toronto and Hamilton, and then Sunday you got BC Calgary as Wally Buono gets honored in Calgary. Let's get to our keys to an Edmonton Elks victory. Jay, your key.
Well, I think they have to come out to a hot start. I think that they need to get rolling in the right direction early. I don't think there's any time for just lackluster play. Come out under your new head coach, under a new GM, a new regime at the top. Come out and prove to them that, yes, you guys are here for the right reasons. You are here to play for this team and this coach. Come out firing. And, what would be amazing? If in the first couple series, the defense could take away the ball. That would
get a turnover?
Yes, that would go.
What's that?
I know. Sad. It's so sad. My number 2.
Oh, you're going with 2.
Well, I have to. I have to put this one in.
To.
Yes, I do.
Just go with 1.
No, keys to the game. Keys.
Because I have a key and you have a key.
Well, keys it's part and parcel. It's defensively, keep everything in front of you. Do not let them get over the top. Zone it up a bit more and disrupt Drew Brown. Drew Brown is not Tom Brady. He's not Matt Dunnigan in the CFL. He's not Michael Riley or Ricky Ray. Don't let him play like that. Disrupt him. Get some pressure on him, whether it's through a blitz here and there. But those front 4, like I said before, and McKnight, Oakman, Brown, and Noah Curtis, please disrupt. Come out. Have an extra energy drink before the game. Get it done. Red Bull gives you wings. That's what they say.
This is why it's keys to an Elks victory. 1 for you, 1 for me. Because I was going with defensive line pressure, getting to the quarterback.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So you had to take 2 because you're just taking all the good ones. The one I have written down ready to go is getting to Drew Brown.
Right. It's nice to see you right.
Sure, but at least let me say it on the air, and then you could be like, "Oh, Matt, I agree with that one" or something. But instead, no, it's
I won't
Jay has to say it, and I look like I have no. I'm just.
It does say deep pressure. Let's see.
Yeah.
It does say.
That's not being shown at all because it's too white.
Yeah. Okay. It does. Mark my word.
Well, No, that's not going to work at all. No, there it is. There it is. Deep pressure. Deep
Matty,
pressure.
I'm sorry for stealing your thunder. You were right.
That's cool.
You're right. You're right.
And I was even sticking with the defense.
Great point.
So I will. I'm trying to think. I used it last week, so I don't want to use that one.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say run the ball more with Kevin Brown, that balanced offense. But I used that last week. I don't want to use that one last week.
Just double down on the defense.
Well, I'm sticking with that one. But now I need to have 2 because now I look like I don't even have enough prep because you came with 2 of them and I only have 1 of them. Trying to show me up on this show.
There's none of that.
I guess it's those 4 or 5 plays that have cost this team every single week. It's that attention to detail. Your coach got fired this week because of your lack of attention to detail. Keep your head on straight. Be smart. Be smart because it's those little plays, those little mistakes that have absolutely crushed this football team.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Your half prediction for the Elks game tonight. I know you already said it, but we'll get back to it.
Okay, I'll give you a prediction. I said Elks are going to win by double digits. They're going to put up points. I know that, so I'm going to go. They're going to go 28-17.
That's not double digits. Yes, it is. That's 11. My bad. I was expecting like 14, 15, 16 or something, but I guess my math is poor. That was bad.
That's 11, and
yeah,
at
that's
least
double
the last
digits.
time I checked.
That's double digits. I corrected it immediately. I knew. I was thinking like 20 or more for some reason. The one staff member here at Century Casino that I spoke with earlier, they're going to blow them out. She went with blowout.
Okay,
that's
well then
not
let's
11
go
38-17.
points.
No, not you. That's not your prediction. That's her prediction.
Well,
I'm saying for her, she is saying it's going to be a blowout today. People are thinking it's going to close, but she thinks Edmonton's going to come out, blow them out, so we will see what happens.
And the only reason you would think that is if there's some sort of spark here because it's the same
team.
Well,
but also the one thing we haven't discussed, well, there's actually 2 things. One is it can be difficult to beat a team back-to-back weeks. It's a hard thing to do. The other thing to that is we haven't discussed it all show, and we're almost out of time here, the coaching bump. That is a thing in sports.
Absolutely.
It happens way more often than not. The new coach or the coach gets fired, whether it's an interim or new coach comes in, they get that victory and that first one. This is that moment for the Edmonton Elks. Do they get that coaching bump to help them get the win? We're live at Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge, where every day is game day. Cheese and jalapeno smoky for $14.99 with waffle fries. We got the quesadillas, the daily special here.
You're going to dive into
I think I'm going to go with quesadilla because I think only the Tuesday and the Friday are the daily specials I've ever had. Corey B might be coming.
Yeah.
Jason and Andrew are going to be here. Atif's already here. We think maybe T. Did you talk to T, or were you just guessing he's going to be here?
Well, I just assumed he'd show up.
Oh, okay. We don't know if T-Roy's actually going to be here or not. But a bunch of nasties. Ken's coming down.
It'd be great to see
So we're going to have a
everyone.
lot of great people here. So come on down. Lots of time to still watch the football game. If you can't get here for the game tonight, we'll be back in Sunday. We're here every game all season. So plan to come on down to Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge, where you can watch the football game with Jay and myself. Jay and I. Watching the football game. See, I've got
You're
that figured out.
learning.
I'm learning. I'm going back
My
to...
mom would be so proud.
I'm glad. I am glad.
She was the grammar queen.
That will wrap up
She's still
the
alive.
Green and Gold Kickoff show. Once this game is over, you know where to come to. It's right back here, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tune on iHeartRadio or on YouTube, as Jay and I will have the post-game show for you once this game concludes. It's coming up just in minutes on TSN. Thanks for tuning in to the Green and Gold Kickoff show. On behalf of Jay, I'm Matt. Enjoy the football game. We'll talk to you once it's over.